Good morning and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. My name is Rotimi Tayo and such a pleasure to be here. And I would like to say that we're streaming from Lagos, Nigeria to West Africa, to Africa and the entire world. This is the Good Morning Education Show. The Good Morning Education Show, you can catch us Mondays to Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. West African time. It's such a pleasure to be here on the show. Thank you so much for joining and welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. And on the show, of course, we have conversations within and around the world of education. We'll start with the headline and then we continue on the show. And of course, please feel free to ask your questions. Feel free to make contributions as well on the show. Thank you for joining the Good Morning Education Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're first time, please do let us know. Of course, feel free to make contributions and comments on the show. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome to the Good Morning Education Show. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And today is an important day. I'm sure you probably would have heard. You will have seen flyers everywhere talking about the celebration of World International Education Day. And this is obviously and definitely one holiday that most people are involved with, and I believe that there are so many things to reflect on as we celebrate the day today. If you have something you want to say about the celebration, please do let us know. Don't hesitate. Tell us what exactly are your thoughts, what exactly are your contributions as regards the celebration of today. You know, because there's so many things out there that people have to say about education, the world of education, and you'll be surprised if you too also have something to say. But then, of course, I'm excited that today we're going to be talking a lot more about the upcoming webinar. We're going to be talking about the upcoming webinar called the No Limit webinar. And this is something that you don't want to miss. This is something that you want to make sure that you join others on the trend, on the trail of the No Limit webinar. Join them as we talk about that. So, ladies and gentlemen, No Limit webinar is something that you have to be a part of, obviously. So let's just get started all the same. And we'll look at that. But first and foremost, let's talk about the headline. The headline of today is what we'll start with. We have a particular news, and we'll start with that. It's talking about the first one is FG laments poor funding in tertiary institution. Federal government laments poor funding in tertiary institution. We know There's so many things that do happen when it comes to tertiary institution, and it's not news. But then the concern is if the federal government is lamenting funding, then who exactly should we be talking to? Because the mode and the model of our institutions uh, is such a way that we cannot totally say that the institution are favored, if I was to say that, you know. So if FG is now complaining and FG is also not changing their approach or changing their gear, then I feel that it's not going to be a welcome development, because how would you talk about funding? Because private institutions tend to fund themselves, but the problem, they are funded by government every year. The government doesn't have the funds, then we need to pay attention. How do we sort that out? That's the question. How do we get that sorted out? So if you have ideas, please do let us know. It'll be good to hear from you on that. Well, we'll also have to go. To the next headline.
Hello, good morning.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Good morning, Rochimi. Hello.
Good morning. How are you? Can you
Fine,
hear me?
fine. Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you now clearly. Thank
Okay.
you.
Uh, that's an issue. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay,
Think
so we're
this.
talking about the funding of the universities, and one of the former VCs actually mentioned the universities are on a suicidal path. Let's hear your take on that.
Yes. Whichever way you look at it, I think I wouldn't say the funding is enough. Be that as it may, one of the headline also says mismanagement of fund. If the fund isn't enough, only to mismanage the little that have been doled out, I think is. I think the professor captures it well. It's like going on a suicidal mission. Really, the universities in Nigeria have not been well funded. And I can tell you the IGR may not really suffice with the issue of the school fees being collected. With the present reality, you will discover that the money isn't anything to write home about. Also, the other side has to do with the people paying the money. Fine, we may say the money is not much. Is it really affordable to majority? And that has to do with the level of poverty in the land. You can see it's like a blockchain. If you say the money is not enough, the little is even being mismanaged, the IGR is not sufficient, the people who are supposed to even pay so in order to generate IGR seems not to have. So it's a whole lot of things that you know join together, but then we need to sort it out one after the other. A place like Nigeria, at least if they can show up a little, let's even eat a double digit as far as the budget to education is concerned. When we do that, then it's obvious that the different tiers of education, we have something larger and bigger. And of course, there should be a proper monitoring. It should not be business as usual. If the money we have isn't enough, the little shouldn't be mismanaged for whatever reasons. So that is why we have a whole lot to do. There shouldn't be sentiment, there shouldn't be politicking. The little we have, if we manage it well, I think things will still be better than where we are. Of course, that is not to say they should not vote more money to education. Talking about 26 and we are talking about 6, 7, let's even do like 15. If you do 15% in the budget, it's a serious move or a positive shift, so to say. And let every kobo be accounted for appropriately. Until we get to that point, there may not be any good thing coming out. And if care is not taking, what befell primary school, public primary school, what befell public secondary school may soon befall the public tertiary institutions. And it's not going to speak well because not everybody can send their words to private institutions. Even the public institution that collects 100,000 as school fee, a lot of people cannot pay. Now, if the public institution goes moribund, what will be left? And I think government needs to do more in terms of funding more and in terms of monitoring. Don't just dole out money. Let every kobo be accounted for. And whoever is not doing the right thing should be sent the way out. I think that's what I will say.
Okay, so let me just chip in something on funding so that we get to the major issue of the day, and I'll also allow you to take the floor. If elected president, the WASP fees would be paid for every Nigerian child, says Tinubu. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Well, it's a good submission. However, how realistic? If elected president, if elected president, WASC fee will be paid for every Nigeria. Well, that is good, but it's not enough. How much is a WASC fee? It's a step in the right direction. However, we need more than that. After the WASC, it doesn't pay for every child, and every child passes the exam. Who is going to fund their university education? Or once you pass your WASC, does that mean you've come to the peak of your educational career? So I think we should look beyond this. For me, let everybody go and look for money to pay WASC. Make education free at the tertiary level. Because if you look at how much you are supposed to pay for WASC, it's nothing compared to the money you are going to pay going through higher institution. So I feel let everybody go and look for money to pay for WASC. That will be a little problem compared to going through, because going through tertiary institution, you're going to pay for 4 years. If you are studying the regular course, if you are studying law, you pay for 5 years. If you are studying pharmacy, you pay for 5 years. Engineering, you pay 5 years. And if you are studying medicine, you pay for 6, 7 years. And I'm very sure there is no institution in Nigeria whose school fee is less than that of what we call WASC fee. So WASC fee is a peanut. So I think I would have loved him to say, let everybody go and pay for the WASC. I only make tertiary education free. Yes. For indigent students, this is a scholarship opportunity. For people from who couldn't access education, will make it this way. So everybody will strive to look for money for WASC, pass the WASC, then because you know that your tertiary institution will be free. So for me, I think WASC is too small a money that we need to celebrate as being a sort of help to the masses. Thank you.
But wouldn't that be like asking for too much?
Well,
Because some people will say that is it not the same educators that say that it's not a must for university?
yes, you are right. Now, when will I say that will be too much? Maybe for our climb, there are other countries in the West where education is free at tertiary level. Fine, they didn't just start today. There are a lot of things that have been put in place. So maybe that may be too much asking him once he comes in and looking at the rot that had existed before now. But I think there should be, I know states are into bursary, they disburse bursary. I think there should be, if there is more funding and there's more facility, school fees can drastically reduce, especially for state institutions. Sorry, especially for federal institutions. Why the state governors or government takes care of their institution in their state. So it won't be for probably not across, but because the state institutions are established by the state government, and of course, in order to better the lot of the people in the state, indigenous and non-indigenous. So at least let's start from the federal schools, the colleges of education, the polytechnics, and the universities. At that federal level, at least if it is free, everybody can enjoy rand. And sincerely speaking, if you look about the kind of money that goes around, I think something can be done more than paying WASC fee. Yes. And of course, even at that, tertiary education is still not a must for everybody. Some will have to go to vocational school to learn. Some will have to go to technical school to learn and be at their best. It's not everybody that have to go with to a normal conventional university, learn only to come out and be looking for what to do. But then this will not be given on a platter of gold. The bar must be raised across board. We are not only telling the government to fund education more, we are also telling the public to be more serious. Admission, state of the institution, there should be stringent measures. It's not just for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You must merit it if you are going to accept it. The foreign government giving scholarship to all over the world, they are not just throwing manna everywhere. If you read through the eligibility criteria, you will have to say, yes, if I'm applying for this, I need to be on top of my game. That's another challenge we need to overcome in Nigeria. We want government to do more, but we are not ready to step up to achieve it. There should be eligibility criteria. It's not just for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. If they need to raise the bar on eligibility criteria, they should raise it. So that whoever is getting this funding will know that he has labored, he has tried, and he has given all his best to achieve getting that full funding. And of course, politicians should be underplayed. It should not be that the son of my daughter, brother, sister. And at the end of the day, somebody who scored 280 cannot access admission, whereas somebody who scored 220 is being given admission. All that needs to stop.
All right.
Thank you.
I know if we go through all that, it might become a surgery of some sort of dissecting and profiling who should lead and what they should promise. Um, so I'm going to ask you this question. Of course, the topic of today is quite interesting. I know that there's an event coming up Saturday, Sundays, 29th and 30th of January, the No Limit webinar, and we're dedicating today for that. So I really want to give you the rest of the show if I can, just to say, you know what, I want you to take us into the reason, the essence, and what to expect. I know there's a theme. What exactly is the theme? What should people be looking out for? The individual speakers. What's the benefit of being a part of the No Limit webinar? Is it just another thing? Will really people gain? And if they will gain, who are your target audience? You know, why should people reach out to people? For those listening now, for those who will watch much later, you know, these are things. So I want you to take it away. Just feel free, continue on that. So over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Rotimi. I really want to use this avenue to tell our listeners, those who are watching live now, those who watch later, to be prepared. for something massive, for something great, for something the educational space needs at this point in time. Yes, we are talking about No Limit webinar, and it's a webinar that stretches from January to December. A whole lot will be done. We're starting this January, and of course, we're starting with the angle of mental health, emotional intelligence, school psychology, school culture, school climate. A whole lot will be dished out this coming weekend. And if you have not seen the flyer, I will encourage you to go around this social media. You will see, I'm very sure, going by the caliber of people who are involved in the planning and the execution. I tell you, if you flip through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm sure you're going to come across something on No Limit. Anything you see No Limits, just stop over to ask what is actually going on. Good morning, Ugochi. Nice to see you. Happy New Year to you.
Good morning, Mr. Dushala. Happy New Year to you too.
Yes, nice seeing you. Let me just drop my thought, then I'll come back to you. Okay. So, with regard to the No Limit webinar, we'll be working on the issue of mental health this weekend. Right from the time of COVID, I actually expected that school business should not be as usual. I expected proprietaries, school managers, school administrators, the educators, even parents to be futuristic. It's a pity that after COVID, there were certain things that started happening. I foresaw, or I expected, that things may not be the way it should be, and a lot of outcomes, unintended consequences will begin to reap if we don't act. And I think I did some write-up on Facebook, the issue of remotely working and emotionally bringing the student to class. We need to connect with them. And of course, I also spoke about on the need of the school and the mental health, that if you think you don't want to spend to train, have you thought about what you are going to spend if scandal happens? I think American Society Psychological Association talks about 1 in every 5 child has a mental health issue, and 1 in every 10 adolescents have a mental health issue. And COVID had further depleted the mental health of an average dweller across the globe. So we need to shift. We need to pay more attention. And that's what we are bringing on board this coming Saturday and Sunday. Yes, and if you look at the array of speakers, if you have listened to them before now, you will know that there are people who know their onions. And if you have not listened to them before now, I wish you check them out, check their profile, look at the work they are doing. I tell you, we cannot continue to do this as usual. Funny enough is that some are waking up. Like I had a session last week on Lasso Radio with the school counselor. In fact, we couldn't finish what we're discussing, and the school counselor had to plead with me that you are coming back this Wednesday again. I said, there's no problem. The case of a mental health issue from primary to secondary to even tertiary, from what is going on around us, we know that we cannot afford to play the ostrich at this time. Nobody can say, well, I'm less concerned, because the aftermath it could be very, very gruesome. So come and learn, come and improve yourself, come and put yourself in a place of knowledge so that you can prevent the occurrence of scandal. Because take it or leave it, if you don't prevent, you may have to cure. Even though you cure, what about the damages that have been done? What about the bad publicity? And it could spell doom for you as a person, for your organization, and for the family. So I will encourage everyone out there to make time out this Saturday. We'll be having 4 sessions. I will allow Ugochi to talk now, then I will come back. Thank you. So, Igoshi, you can take it away.
Yes, just before Ugochi speaks, let me just quickly show a video and then Ugochi will take over from there.
Hi everyone, my name is Rhoda Adibo and I'm so excited to bring you the No Limit webinars. Yes, the No Limit webinars. And the No Limit webinars are a series of webinars happening all year round. Starting from January, we're going to be beginning with a No Limit webinar themed Mental Health Revolution. You're going to be listening to experts in the field of emotional wellness, all the way to mental health wellness and how counseling supports in mental wellness in schools. Just look at the flyers and see what we have there. The lessons you'll be going through, the experiences you'll be going through, the opportunities and the platform for you to ask your critical questions, and most importantly, the skills that you need to learn. Join us.
Yes, Ugochi, you can take it. Take it.
Okay, so thank you so much for an opportunity to share on this topic. So, beginning from the No Limits webinar, I think that this is really a great webinar that everybody should attend, everybody in the education space, because this subject of mental health is so critical now in our schools. We need to ensure that children feel safe. And it's not even enough for only the children to feel safe, even the teachers. When we talk about mental health in schools, we need to ensure that it concerns everybody, because if only one person, maybe only children are being sorted out and the teachers are not sorted out, it would also affect their performance. And when it affects their performance, then they might begin to think of leaving that school because they see that that school is not helping them, to grow and to thrive. So as we begin to make countdown towards the mental health webinar, as school owners, school leaders, educators, the we must also think about how to ensure that this mental health covers both the teachers also and staff in school. So mental health is really critical. And then today is the International Day of Education, and the theme is changing course and fostering transformation. Give me a second. Let me make sure that I'm saying that as accurately as possible. Changing course, transforming education. Yes, and this is really important today because the pandemic threw a lot of challenges, to everyone, every sector actually. But in terms of education, it led to loss. And so now in 2022 and going forward, we need to ask ourselves, what are the things that are not currently working? What are the things that are working and that we need to sustain? And what are the things that we've got to creatively reimagine? How can we change the way things are done in a way that is going to ensure that we're providing the right content in the right format for our children, and then of course reducing inequity and access, reducing inequity, because we don't want a situation where, okay, now, because let's even use the case of technology, because everyone is saying, oh, we need to begin to leverage technology in our classrooms, then we've got to ask ourselves, if we begin to leverage technology in our classrooms, how are we going to ensure that all children, regardless of their socioeconomic status, regardless of their location, would have access to that education leveraging technology? Because if we begin to use it and maybe it's just being used in some places and then some children are not able to access it, then that's inequity. So it's really important that we begin to think in that direction. And as we think, we also need to think of how are we going to support our teachers to join us in changing course, because everybody saw the importance of teachers during the pandemic. When parents had to do a lot of homeschooling, they saw that it wasn't easy. And so, how are we going
Yeah,
to support
so
our teachers? How are we going to support our teachers? How are we going to support our teachers, to ensure that they are able to transition smoothly, and also equip them with because the truth is, teachers teach to the level of what they know. So if we're really saying changing course and transforming education, and we're saying that, okay, maybe the things we have taught before in our curriculum, in our syllables, some of them are not effective for the future that we envision. How do we ensure that teachers are equipped and prepared to teach subjects that are in tune with the future that we're envisioning? Because it's not enough to just say it and go. What is in place, because at the end of the day, we must be able to raise children who have access to quality education and who are going to grow and see how useful that education is in the work they have to do in the future that is coming to us. Otherwise, it will be a case of the children graduating after spending much time in school and having to school themselves again, using other methods in order to catch up with the society. We do not want a case where, when our children from this country have to compete with children in other countries or in other continents, there is that gap. We don't want that. We want to ensure that our children are carried along as other children are carried along in the world. Yeah, so those are my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Ugochi. And I think, thank you for the submission. Two things got me there. Number one, the need to train our educators, because they are the one to disseminate the information. And bearing it in mind that the educators we have as we speak now have been schooled before the emergence of these new things. So that means they were not even taught these new things when they were in school. So I think training the trainers matters a lot. And the second thing that got me has to do with the curriculum that we dish out to our students and having to compete globally. Really, that has been the case almost up to this time, with the exception of few people who have really been schooling themselves in other areas of life. There has been this chalk, or there is this lag when somebody transits from this part of the world to the other part, and you are being taught certain things, only to be looking at it, say, where did they get that from? I said, we expected you. Like, I have a friend, when he was doing his PhD, he said he was looking at the content being dished out to undergraduate, 100 level, 200 level students. Those things in Nigeria, at times, some PhD students don't have a grasp of what those 200 level students are doing. And a case where somebody moved from this part to the other part, and you still have to go outside and be spending extra time to school yourself because there is a gap. And if you really want to compete globally, you need those knowledge, only that you have not been taught from where you are coming from. So I think is a whole lot. And also thank you for your submission on this issue of equity and having access across board. It's not just to change course. Can we really change the course across board? If people in the city are complaining, what becomes the lot of those in a rural setting? But it may be an uphill task, but not impossible. Thank you once again. And talking about the mental health of teachers, I tell you, we can say that and say that and say that again. When the teachers are not mentally okay, I tell you, they'll be dishing out death to the students. That is where you see them bullying the student under them. That's where you see them maltreating the student. Someone can even verbally attack the student under them because they don't know better. So thank you for bringing that up as we're ensuring that the children are safe. We also need to ensure that the teachers are safe. They are mentally sound. Their mind is operating optimally, and they are knowledgeable, because if somebody wears his or her problem on his or her sleeves, he begins to hurt people around him or her, maybe unknowingly, unintentionally, And the attitude, the words of mouth, the facial expression at times, attitude to work, all these things can be getting at other people working around you. Colleagues begin to notice that, sorry, why is so and so behaving this way? Why is so and so responding this way? And before you know it, it becomes a cycle of hurt. So teachers' mental health is equally very, very crucial and very, very germane. And from the video you have watched, you can see the array of speaker. I will be having Rukoya Ogumbi, that is founder, CEO, Sane Mind, and she's going to be doing a lot, saying a lot, coming this weekend. We've seen Temitayo there, Oshino. Yes, she's been doing a whole lot. Some of you listening to me now, if you have been in the districts in Lagos State where Tayo has done some of our work, you can testify to the kind of the depth she has and the kind of things she is capable of doing. She will be on board. Of course, Omobola too will be joining us. And I tell you, these are people who knows their onion, who have been doing this, and they are experts who are ready to provide solution. And of course, Olushole Olumide too will be on board this webinar. So there is a whole lot you will gain coming this way. I will only tell you, please don't sleep on this, because mental health is revolution comes up in January and it may not come back anytime soon. Yes. So please make sure you don't miss it. And another thing I want us to know is that you need to be one of the early birds. You must come on board as early as possible so that you are not egged out. If you are not on the platform, say by 5-10 minutes past 10 on Saturday, when the program will be starting, you may not really be able to join because of the crowd that will have filled the platform. So on Saturday, the first session starts by 10 a.m. and by 11, the second session starts. It's going to run continuously till 12 noon. So, and on Sunday, the third and the fourth session runs from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. And come with your questions. If there are case studies you've been battling with, bring it up. I know I have an educator like that. And I really appreciate the kind of person he is. I've been to the school to do training for them. At times, he would just call and say, sorry, we're having, I'm in Port Harcourt. There is a particular, this is what I have done. This is how far I have gone. What do you say to this? So, and I will reply as, okay, why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? And ask some further questions in order to provide solution. And we are working together in order to make the school environment safe, not only physically, but psychologically too. And when it is like that, the better for our children. They learn in the most conducive environment. They grow up with the best frame of mind and mindset, and that makes them to become better adults. Yes, and we're able to help to heal the hurt they have experienced in time past. Some are from broken homes, daddy, mommy, always fighting. There are some who are depressed. There are some who have been into substance abuse. So these are many things. Some have been molested by uncle, by teachers, and they're carrying the hurt all about. They need somebody to talk to. So these are the many areas we are going to cover. And of course, you'll be seeing if the counseling unit in your school is actually functional or not. What can you do? What is expected of an average educator in every school environment? Many things we're going to dole out come this weekend. And I tell you, you don't want to miss it. I tell you, you don't want to miss it. Yes, Ugochi, do you have anything to say further? Let's hear you.
I'm just support of what you have talked about, most especially the part where you talked about counseling, how the importance of counseling in schools, and all that. In fact, I was writing a post for safety, and one of the things that I was writing was that there are times when your children come and they report certain things to you. You have to ask yourself, who is the right professional that we need to speak to about this, because it's not enough to just listen. You need to provide that child with professional assistance. And here we've not really taken counseling as a very serious thing, because counseling, therapy, we sort of associate them sort of wrongly, and we shouldn't, because these are good things. They really help to ensure that people talk through situations and are able to resolve it in a more holistic manner, that is healthy, and that does not leave room for carrying baggage into the future. Because many times people who, should I say, mistreat others or behave wrongly, they're acting off something that has happened to them at some point in their past. And so I really love the fact that one of the things that will be talked about during this the No Limits webinar is going to be focusing on counseling, in schools and all that, because a critical component is not enough to just have someone, give someone the position, guidance counselor, and that's it. How do we ensure that students are able to benefit from that relationship with a counselor in school? How do we ensure that they do not feel that whatever they share in confidence is going to be used against them? Because that's another thing. We've actually had a case before where we asked them, a child who had complained about something, why don't you have this conversation with your counselor? I said, no, that one should tell everybody. Like, can you imagine that? Imagine that a
Mm,
child already knows that
knows.
if it's not in confidence, So it's that I'm happy that that's one of the things that's going to be spoken about during the No Limits webinar. Because really, if we're really saying where we want to change course and transform education, we want to rethink the way things are being done, then all hands really must be on deck. Yeah, back to you.
Thank you, Ugochi. And talking about people carrying baggages, I think is something we need to really pay attention to, and that some are grown up, some in their 30s or even 40s, and they are still having certain behavioral disorders, only that they couldn't trace it back to what happened. Like one of the mentees I have across the continent of Africa could be so paranoid in the face of public, to the point that the person was like, even when going shopping, I wish there's nobody in the mall. Let me just shop and quickly run out. I don't want to meet anybody. I don't want to. So eventually I needed to probe and say, see, looking at this, your experiences, I think is beyond. I think the person was trying to seek my help in the area of public speaking, having confidence and whatever. And normally I will ask further questions and what have you. So I now told the person, I said, you know what? This is not just ordinary. It's not just the on the surface issue of feeling shy. I'm an introvert. I said, from the way you're going, can you please reflect? Have you been molested before? What and what had happened and all that. So we needed to trace it backward, only for the parent to say, yes, it is true. I think one of my uncle tried to molest me. Then also, my father wouldn't want us to go anywhere. Just stay indoor. He wouldn't want you to associate with anybody and all that. So I said, fine, your case will require therapy. There are people today who are having some issues and they're like, why are others getting it done and I'm not getting it done? Why can others stand in public and I cannot stand in public? Meanwhile, they have forgotten what happened. Something somewhere along the line that appear to clip their wings or paralyze their mind and make them feel like if you go out there, it's like you are going to enter into the mouth of a lion. And they grew up with that mentality. And there are a whole lot of people now. I usually tell people that behind every behavioral disorder is an unresolved issue. You just need to take step backward in time to find out where did it happen to me along the line. Through a maid, an uncle, my dad, my mom, where I went to live. So there are many. So by the time we're able to pinpoint the genesis and we look at the effect that thing brought on the person on your personality, then we begin to provide solution, begin to tell you, oh, this is what to be done, this is what to be done. And thank you for talking about who to go to, because in this part of the world, a lot of people hand over everything to God. They don't want to do anything. Or some of them feels, okay, the cure for this is to go and pray and fast. While I'm not against prayer, I'm not against fasting. However, we cannot rule out the place of knowledge. Because if you don't even know, if you cannot define the problem, it may be difficult to provide solution. So that you will not be using the medicine meant for headache, for stomach ache. It will further compound the problem. So who to go to? And I think what has happened in recent time, COVID and some of the issues that has happened here and there, should open the eyes of an average educator to take issue of counseling seriously. It should help a lot of parents to take the issue of counseling so seriously. And of course, as adults too,
Absolutely.
yes, and feel like I can't just handle this. It's not just about to pray or to fast. What is the problem? Have you diagnosed it? In fact, do you know, Gocha, I have realized something. If your hand is paining you and you are praying to God that God, please heal my leg, do you know the person has not prayed at all? It is the hand that is paining you, but you are telling God, God, please heal my leg. That person can fast 365 days of the year. Do you know that person has not prayed at all? So those are some of the things why knowledge is very, very, very important. And of course, for schools, I remember talking on one of the radio stations, and I said, it is not normal if the health center is working and the counseling unit is not working.
That's a
Yes, I was referring to the saga that happened in Unilorin, that student and the supervisor, the lecturer. If somebody breaks a leg or a hand or has bruises, we quickly move the person to the health center for first aid and for further treatment before they refer him or her to maybe general hospital. When somebody is having emotional baggage, where do we refer them to? Incidentally, those things are real. They have debilitating effect on the victim. The victim continues to victimize other people, but the counseling unit are not working. I think going forward for schools, and I also want you to come on board when I drop this my thought to say one or two things. Going forward for school, there should be a functional counseling unit in every school. Number two, professionals should be hired who knows their onion, who knows what they are doing. And for people who study either psychology or guidance and counseling in Nigeria, I have said it time with that number, you need to keep abreast with latest happening. You know that I study guidance and counseling, and you are using archaic method. When people are working on neuro-linguistic programming, there are people working on cognitive behavioral therapy, people are working on the issue of emotional intelligence, and a counselor says he has not had those words before. Can you imagine that? So I want you to say one or two things. Your parting, it says something, then use that for your parting shot. Thank you very much. Gush.
Okay, so I'll just say as parting shot that our schools should be open-minded about these issues, because really, if we're transforming education, we must begin to think ahead. We should be thinking progressively. We should not wait until problems happen and then we start running helter-skelter. We should think ahead and make decisions in that regard. And so schools should begin to ask themselves, who do we need to work with? Who can we partner with to have this access to these professional services? Because I know that one of the concerns now might be cost. But the truth is, there are ways to partner and look for organizations offering these services that you are not going to necessarily have to pay the entire cost. You could even do shared costs with other schools in your network. And I think this is the time that schools should work together as groups and not in silos. You know, if we could, it could come up with a plan where a particular should I say, particular professional service is being provided to all the schools in your network. And now, because there are more schools in the network, the cost is reduced per head, as opposed to if you're the one taking the full cost of hiring that professional. Considering that there might be some services that you may not need every day per se, but maybe you will need on a weekly basis or on a fortnight or monthly basis. So you determine what that frequency is and then share costs so that you don't feel overwhelmed by cost. Yes. So I would like to encourage all schools. We're all doing fantastic already, but we can always do better. The goal is to always do better than what we've done previously. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Ugochi, for that, and for school owners out there, for school administrators, also for educators. Do you know you can help or put your proprietors in the know and say, we need this? You may not necessarily be the counselor. Yes. Or you are the counselor of the school, or you reach out to the school counselor and say, you know what, we will need something like this. So can we partner with people in our network? I have a professional I can be. And of course, I've been privileged to go to certain schools that maybe just one of the educators there who knows me and knows what I do. And they say they are doing this. Or at times it is the school counselor that say, oh, this will be good for our student. Can we bring somebody on board? And is very, very important. And as we live in today, yes, the cost will be there, but please don't be penny wise and pound foolish. If the trouble comes, when the scandal comes, when the alarm blows, you may end up paying more. And of course, that is financial sort of setback. What about the psychological setback? What about the physical setback? What about the bad publicity it may bring to your school? So please, 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 let's be prevention is better, not only better, it's cheaper and it's safer than cure. Thank you very much. We're going to say our parting shot after the count of two, Ugochi. Our normal, it's always a great morning on the Good Morning Education Show. We'll say that after the count of two. 1, 2, go.
It's
It's
always
always
a
a
great
great morning
morning
on the
on the
Good
Good
Morning Education Show.
Education Show.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.